Assalamu alaikum dear students. Our today's lesson is Unit 3 Dreams. We did its summary and explanation, and today we are going to do the question answers and the exercises. I'll start from the first question, which is on page 24. It says, what is the theme of the poem? The theme of the poem, dreams. We'll start with reference to the context and then its explanation. The importance of hope is the major theme of the poem. Now, what is hope is the major theme of the poem. Dreams are manifestations of hope, the hope that can make our dreams come to reality. Hope is something that makes life more bearable and happy. Without it, life is not as good. So, one should hold fast to our dreams and keep striving to make them happen, regardless of obstacles or complications along the way. A dream does not become reality through magic, it takes sweat, determination, and hard work. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. This was written by Walt Disney. Now, our dreams must become reality if we have the power or the strength to strive for them, to attain them with our struggles. Next is question number 2. How important do you think dreams are? Explain. Dreams are very necessary. Without dreams, there will be no ambition to change. There will be no goal to reach. We all will be nothing without dreams. Not having dreams is like following an invisible shadow. We must know what we want to do and follow that ambition. We cannot achieve anything in life without goals. And for these goals, we need to dream. So, dreams are very important in life. They motivate us, improve, and help in achieving any goal that we want to achieve. A heart without dreams is like a bird without feathers. Dreams are the stars that you may never touch them, but if you follow them, they will lead you to your destiny. Next is question 3. Identify an example of a word or phrase that is repeated in the poem and explain why the poet makes this repetition. The repetition of the line "Hold fast to dreams" is made by the poet Langston Hughes. He wants to encourage people to hold fast to their desires and goals because without them, life is bleak and hopeless. This quote urges people to hold on to their dreams, which are motivational and inspirational. Question 4. Identify an example of personification. Explain what is being personified and how. In order to highlight the importance of dreams and goals, Langston Hughes personifies them. In the first stanza, he personifies dreams by writing that dreams never die, suggesting they can die as if they are living things and are able to die. This is especially significant because death is so final, it sounds as though if dreams are allowed to die, they can never be resurrected. So, dreams are given importance and life through personification. Now comes question 5. Identify lines containing metaphors. What ideas are being conveyed by these metaphors? In the poem Dreams, metaphor is used twice. In the first stanza, the metaphor is life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. The defining characteristics of birds is that they can fly. If a bird can no longer fly, it seems hard to imagine how it would survive. It would seem as though the birds cannot do anything and that it was born to do, that is to fly. So what would it do without their dreams? The metaphor in the second stanza, life is a barren field frozen like snow. It really conveys the lost potential of life without dreams. To be barren means that nothing can grow, and if it is applied to one's life, it means that all one's potential is lost. Pursuing our dreams make us grow and develop, and in the absence of dreams, this growth becomes impossible. Next is question 6. It says, list the alliterative words from the poem Dreams. Answer. The D is repeated in the second line with the words dreams die. Then in the last two lines, the letter F is repeated with the last word of the seventh line field and the frost word of the final line. Frozen also in the broken winged bird. B is repeated in the third line. Question 7. How is imagery used in this poem? Imagination starts to take over as one reads this poem. The lines, "Life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly, and life is a barren field frozen with snow," are a great example of imagery, because one can picture the broken winged bird unable to fly and a barren field where nothing can be grown. This amazing use of imagery also makes one start to think about what life would be without dreams. Next is question 8. What is the mood of this poem? How does it make you feel? The poet Langston Hughes opens the poem with a command by saying, "Hold fast." The first attitude he takes towards his people is didactic, meaning instructive. He's giving instructions. He's very serious about teaching wisdom concerning holding on to dreams. His words also express depressive and sorrowful mood when he says, "Life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Life is a barren field frozen with snow." Yet, at the same time, since he speaks of the ability to hold fast to dreams, he also explains a vaguely optimistic mood. Now, let's move on to the exercises. The first exercise on page number 24 is write the correct option in the following statement. The phrase "hold fast to dream" means option D, stick fast to your ambition in life. Page number 25. In the line "Life is a broken winged bird," the poet uses the technique of A option is correct, metaphor. Number 3, "Life is a barren field." In this line, the phrase "a barren field" is a metaphor. According to the poet, life without dreams is hollow and bleak. According to dreams, what will happen if our dreams die? Life will be hopeless. Correct option is D. Now come to the vocabulary part. Explain if you are correct, close or totally off, and why you think what happened by using evidence from the text. Now this is words and phrases. First word that is given is broken winged. Next is barren field. Next is frozen with snow. Then the word is hold fast. Now words and phrase we have taken out. Next our job is to what you infer the meaning is. Damaged wings, uncultivated land, covered with snow, catch and stick lightly. The first word is टूटे हुए पर, broken winged. अगला है बंजर ज़मीन, फिर है बर्फ से मुंजमद, बर्फ से भरा हुआ. Catch and stick tightly, hold fast. Explain why and use evidence from the text. If dreams die, life will become stagnant. Here it is used in the form of a metaphor. If a person has no hope in life, life becomes meaningless, again in the form of a metaphor. To feel the field covered with snow producing nothing, again metaphor. To stick fast to something, personification. The last part is personification. Now the dictionary meaning: damaged wings, broken winged, damaged wings, barren field, uncultivated field, frozen with snow, covered with lots of snow, hold fast, to support with hands. Now next is, what is a persuasive essay? A persuasive essay explains a specific topic and attempts to persuade the audience that your point of view is the most informed, logical and valid perspective on the topic. This genre is also known as the argumentative essay. Elements of a persuasive essay are: a persuasive essay does have certain baseline requirements that are standard in nearly every essay type. These points are: a clear thesis or controlling idea that establishes and sustains your focus, an opening paragraph that introduces the thesis, body paragraphs that use specific research evidence to illustrate your informative or argumentative points, smooth transitions that connect the ideas of adjoining paragraphs in specific and interesting ways, use of counter arguments to summarize and refute opposing positions, a conclusion that emphasizes your central idea without being repetitive. Now next is listening and speaking. Each student should share his or future dreams and aspirations with the class and get opinion and feedback of the class on them. These are all your physical class questions, and your teachers definitely will be doing this. We will also try to do these questions with you in another lecture. Next is grammar part. Transitive and intransitive verbs. Now what is a transitive verb? A transitive verb is a verb that accepts one or more objects. An intransitive verb is a verb which makes sense without an object. Now do as directed. Choose the sentence that does not have an intransitive verb. I jog, the child gurgles, I watched a movie, she sobs. Now the sentence which does not have an intransitive verb is I watched a movie. Number 2, choose the sentence that does not have a transitive verb. She laughed heartily. Now here the sentence does not have an object. Choose the sentence that does not have a transitive verb. The birds are flying. Next page, choose the sentence that have an intransitive verb. The customer is buying pancakes. Choose the sentence that does not have a transitive verb. Asma shouted in the class. Choose the sentence that does not have an intransitive verb. The student is answering questions. Pick out 5 transitive and intransitive verbs from the story. I'll give this to you separately. Now let's move on to the present participle or past participle part of it. Prepared by the best cook in town, the meal was sheer poetry. After studying all day, her head was aching in the evening. Lying on the sofa, they were watching TV. Everybody was shocked to hear the news. Before leaving the house, I always check if all lights are switched off. Combine the following pairs of sentences by using participle, present or past. The first one has been done for you. We met a boy, he was carrying a heavy bag. We met a boy carrying a heavy bag. The house was decorated with lights. It looked beautiful. The house decorated with lights looked beautiful. Was will be removed and it will be removed. The robbers saw the policeman, they ran away. Seeing the policeman, the robbers ran away. I found the door open, I went inside. Finding the door open, I went inside. The police saw the body, it was floating down the river. The police saw the body floating down the river. Next is the clause. What is the clause? Clauses come in 3 types. Now you must remember these. There are 3 types of clauses: main or independent clause, subordinate or dependent clause, relative for adjective and noun. Every clause has at least a subject and a verb. Main clauses. Every main clause will follow this pattern. It will contain a subject and a verb, and a complete thought will be conveyed. Example, lazy students always complain. Students is the subject, complain is the verb. Water spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. Water is the subject, spilled, splashed, verbs. My cat loves milk. Cat is the subject, loves is the verb. The important point to remember is that every sentence must have at least one main clause. Subordinate clauses. A subordinate clause will follow this pattern: subordinate conjunction plus subject plus verb, incomplete thought. Example, whenever lazy students complain, whenever subordinate conjunction, student subject, complain verb. As water spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter, as is the subordinate conjunction, water is the subject, spilled or splashed are the verbs. Because my cat loves milk, because is the subordinate conjunction, cat is the subject, loves is the verb. The important point to remember about subordinate clauses is that they never stand alone as complete sentences. To complete the thought, you must attach each subordinate clause to a main clause. Generally, the punctuation looks like this: main clause plus no punctuation, comma, plus subordinate clause plus punctuation plus main clause. Examples, whenever lazy students complain, comma, Mrs. Rameez throws chalk eraser on their head. Amir ran for the paper towels as water spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. Because my cat loves milk, comma, she never catches rats. Relative clauses. A relative clause will begin with a relative pronoun, such as who, whom, whose, which, or that, or a relative adverb: when, where, and why. The pattern looks like these: relative pronoun plus adverb plus subject plus verb, incomplete thought. Relative pronoun as subject, verb, incomplete thought. For example, whom Mrs. Rameez hit in the head with a chalk eraser. Whom is a relative pronoun, Mrs. Rameez the subject, hit the verb. They had spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. That is the relative pronoun. Had spilled, splashed are the verbs. Who loves milk? Who is the relative pronoun, loves is the verb. Like subordinate clauses, relative clauses cannot stand alone as complete sentences. You must connect them to main clauses to finish the thought. Look at these revisions of the relative clauses above. The lazy students, whom Mrs. Rameez hit in the head with a chalk eraser, soon learned to keep their complaints to themselves. My cat Mano, who loves milk, drinks it under the kitchen table, where she enjoys it with great enthusiasm. Amir ran to get paper towels for the water that had spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. Punctuating relative clauses can be tricky. You must decide if the relative clause is essential or non essential and then use commas accordingly. Essential relative clauses do not require commas. A relative clause is essential when you need the information it provides. The relative clause becomes non essential and does not require commas to separate it from the rest of the sentence. Read the sentences and decide if the bold words form a dependent or independent or relative clause. Tahir did his homework before he went to bed. This is an independent clause. Isn't that the woman who lives across the road from you? Relative clause. Because the test was so difficult, none of the students got a very good grade. Independent clause. She is fit because she goes running every day. Dependent clause. The police said the accident that happened last night was unavoidable. This is a relative clause. I don't like Mondays. Independent clause. Have you seen those people who we met on holiday? Relative clause. Can you tell me why you said that? This is an independent clause. You shouldn't believe everything that you read in the newspaper. This is a relative clause. If you help me, I will help you. This is a dependent clause. I hope you've understood these examples of all the clauses. I will make it clear in another exclusive section of clauses in the grammar part. Hopefully your exercises are done. Please like and subscribe our channel and keep encouraging us.